Talk about excitement. The Stanley Cup playoffs kicked off this past Wednesday, and 16 teams are going to war for a chance at glory. In the East, the much-anticipated matchup between the Habs and Sens began last night. On this week's Four Downs, where we break down one topic four different ways, we ask, will Ottawa upset the Canadiens in the first round? We welcome Anthony Corneli, Pierre Just, and David Hurley, RBTL contributors. Great to see you, gentlemen. This is a matchup that a lot of people are looking for both reasons. It could be a great story for Ottawa, and it could be a complete disaster for the Habs. Who do you have winning that series?
No matter what the result was last night, I'm actually going to go with the Montreal Canadiens, and here's why. You have Carey Price in nets, a proven goaltender who's won a gold medal for his country. Last year got his Stanley Cup run interrupted into the Eastern Finals. I think he's got a little revenge, and I think the Montreal Canadiens will be really ready to play a nice long playoff series.
I'm disagreeing with you completely. I'm going with the Ottawa Senators in 6 games. Goal with the under on every one of these games. I mean, Carey Price is the hottest goalie in the league. You know, Hart Trophy, Vezina Trophy, but Hammond is just as much on fire. They're the hottest team going into the playoffs. He's 20-1 in his last 21 games, and I think he's made points in his last 23. There's no doubt about it in my mind that Ottawa has that 2013 series still fresh, and they're going to do it.
And Mark Stone has been a huge factor for the Ottawa Senators. He's probably going to win the Calder. He's playing incredibly well. You've got Hammond, which is on an incredible tear. The question for me, and I agree with you, I think the Senators do have a shot at winning this series. And I think a big question mark, and a player that a lot of people are not looking at, is Mike Hoffman. Mike Hoffman has 19 even strength goals in the league, and that's tying him with Alexander Ovechkin. He only plays about 14 minutes a game. So if people only think that the Ottawa Senators are only Hammond and Stone, they're going to be in for quite the surprise, because this is a deep team.
Yes, sir. They're a deep team, and they have a feel of a team of destiny behind them. They kind of had the feeling that the Habs had last year. And going into this playoff series, I feel like they can definitely cause a surprise. And the way the Habs have been playing lately, not the same amount of confidence, injuries now, they definitely can pull up the upset.
All right, I'm going to have to stop you guys right here. Pump the brakes, boys. Think about it this way. You have 2 of the best defensive centermen in the league right now. Lars Eller does need a little work, but Thomas Plekanec is a Selke contender almost every year.
And where is he in the playoffs?
He's actually plays very, very well, and he shuts down the opposite team. How do you expect Montreal to beat teams like in the past, beating Pittsburgh, beating Washington, beating last year Boston several times?
It's called stellar goaltending.
Absolutely,
it's stellar goaltending.
He shuts down Crosby's, the Ovechkins. So you're Mike Hoffman and you're Mark Stone. He's going to shut these guys down. He's done it. He's done it on multiple times. Plus, you have PK Subban, who is arguably the Norris Trophy winner this season.
Well, no, because Carlson. Okay, so
Carlson's right up there.
Based on what you said, Carlson negates PK Subban. In terms of size, except for on defense, Montreal Canadiens they don't have size. They're not a big team up front.
Yeah, they do. They have line on their third line. They're very big.
They are battling for possession all the time. They're weak in the corners. They're not strong on the puck, and it's always been one of the Achilles' heel of the Montreal Canadiens. We don't have the size in the playoffs to go against. And last time we played Ottawa, we felt that exact
exactly. We all know. Sorry to cut you off. We all know in the playoffs it's a goaltender battle, right? So Hammond's hot. Carey Price is hot. What are we looking for now? Scoring. Okay. The Ottawa Senators are the only team in the league this year to have 5 20-plus goals. 20-plus goal scorers, including Carlson. And I think the key matchup will be Carlson, PK Subban. The one who makes the least mistakes on the ice between the two is going to win the series. And I think Carlson's going to be that guy.
I don't think Carlson will be that guy. Carlson takes a lot of useless shots from the point. We saw it this year. He's got 270 shots, somewhere along those lines, and he doesn't hit the net as much. Yes, he has 21 goals, but if you're shooting all the time from the point, Montreal will be able to shut down that point. They'd rather give it down low than let Carlson play with it up high. Montreal will be able to shut that down. I think what you guys are underestimating is the Torrey Mitchells, the Devontae Smith-Pelleys, guys who have played in the playoffs, have a proven record, and these are the guys Marc Bergevin brought in.
Better hope he produces.
They will produce. They better hope they produce.
I feel Ottawa has a lot of same ingredients that the Habs had last year, and we underestimate that. And the way they're playing right now as a unit, with the confidence that they have, exactly. Sometimes having experience is not always the recipe for success. Guys that never been in it before, they're not overwhelmed by the experience, play with confidence. They can definitely pull a surprise.
I'll say this: the Ottawa Senators have been playing playoff hockey for the last 25 games, and I think that will be their Achilles heel. They're going to be burnt out. I think Montreal wins it in 6.
I completely disagree. I think the energy level could be there. I think it's important for a team to get in hot.
Yeah.
LA last year was a perfect example of that. They limped into the playoffs. However, had this huge streak.
They're not limping in.
No, what I mean by that is they had a huge stride in the last 10 or 15 games where it gave them momentum, it gave them belief. And honestly, in that dressing room, are they afraid of the Montreal Canadiens right now?
I don't think they are.
I don't think they're intimidated one bit by the Montreal Canadiens.
Because, like you mentioned, they've played playoffs games, the last 20 games they've been playing in a playoff atmosphere. So they're not intimidated. They're going in there with all the confidence in the world. So they can definitely pull the upset.
They beat the Canadians the last 3 regular season games against
They
the
have.
Canadians.
Don't worry about it. 50 wins in the regular season, you'll see a lot more in the playoffs.
In all fairness, I got to stand behind you on this one because Tokarski was in nets for 2 of those games and Carey Price won 1-1. So I gotta go against you on that one. Stay with us. We're shifting gears. We're talking NBA basketball. Don't go anywhere.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by EliteSportsTours.ca. What are you doing this weekend?
Derrick Rose is back, but for how long? One thing is for sure. If Derrick Rose stays healthy, they can give any team in the Eastern Conference of the NBA's second season a run for their money. Can D-Rose and the Bulls find their inner Jordan and bring their team to the finals? Welcome back, Anthony Cornelli, Pierre Evans Just, David Hurley. All right, D-Rose is an unpredictable factor in the Eastern Conference. He could literally take his team to the finals of the Eastern Conference, or they could go on in the first round without him. How much of an impact player is Derrick Rose?
He makes a great impact, but it's going to be all for nothing. At the end of the day, Cleveland is winning the East. Let's just be realistic. They have LeBron James, they have Kyrie Irving. They've been healthy all year, and they have Kevin Love as well. And a guy that's missed 3 seasons worth of games playing point guard, a difficult position to play in the playoffs because you're playing against Wall, you're playing against Kyle Lowry, you're playing against Kyrie Irving, as I mentioned. I don't know what expectations you have from him going into the
I would
playoffs.
have to completely agree with Pierre on this. I really don't think he's going to do anything or keep anyone busy other than the doctors and the physiotherapists. He's not the player that he used to be. You don't see the same jump that he had. Kyrie Irving, who was, they were neck and neck. Kyrie Irving is like 3 times the player that he is now. And that's all because Derrick Rose has been injured all the time. I don't see him doing anything in the playoffs. And if he does something in the first round, it's because it's expected. He's going to lose in the second round to Cleveland. I think he'll be out in 5 games.
I think you're wrong, Hurley. I mean, Derrick Rose has been sponsored by WD-40 in the last few weeks. He's shaking off that rust. He's going to the basket like he wasn't earlier on. The post Derrick Rose injury is not taking stupid shots anymore. He's more patient when he's on the ball. He's dishing off when he has to. He's just helped his team, and progressively he's going to get better. And as the Bulls make their run in the playoffs, I think Derrick Rose could be a big part of that.
I'm curious. I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and tie it back into Derrick Rose because you've thrown out there, both of you threw out there that it's simple. It's a walk in the park for Cleveland to win the East. I disagree. I don't think that Cleveland has it as easy as people think, especially with the depth of the Chicago Bulls. And I'm surprised you said that because on paper, if I look at the past season, the regular season, I know it's the NBA's second season, fine. But looking at what we've seen so far from Cleveland, I'm not that much impressed. I'm actually more impressed with a deeper Chicago team or a tight unit or nucleus of the Toronto Raptors than I am.
Sean Marion is going to be a big addition for Cleveland this season. If you see the way that he's produced in the playoffs, he helped Dallas get to the finals. He won with Dallas as well. This guy is a player that comes to clubs and plays great, sound defensive basketball. And I think he's going to be the big addition for that team in the playoffs.
Is there not a bigger impact player than Derrick Rose when he's healthy? Especially, I mean, obviously apart from LeBron.
In the Eastern Conference?
In the Eastern Conference, he's a game changer.
He's definitely a game changer, and to piggyback on what you said, definitely he's been playing better, but I don't think it's going to matter in the end because Cleveland is stacked and they're ready, and other than LeBron, you have Kyrie Irving that's probably the best offensive player other than LeBron in the Eastern Conference, and he's been doing it all year. And that consistency, that nucleus that's been playing all year under a coach that might not have NBA experience, but has won at the international level, they know what they're doing. They're ready, I think, to go all the way. Now, can Derrick Rose cause maybe a little bit of uncertainty with Cleveland?
He can take away a game or two.
I think we're steering a little off topic,
MVP.
though. I think we're steering a little off topic by talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and their depth they have. We're just talking about the impact that Derrick Rose has on the Bulls, and I think it's a positive one going into the playoffs. If they win or not, I can't say they're going to win because Cleveland's on fire. But, Derrick Rose will have an effect on the team.
He'll have an impact in the first round,
That was
for sure.
the question.
But in the second round, that's where it dies down for me. And he's not going to have enough games to give himself the momentum to come into the playoffs on a hot streak. I don't think he has it. I think he wins maybe the first round, and in the second round, you'll see him out in 6.
Because as you get into the playoffs, it gets tougher. And a guy that hasn't played that many games, do you have full confidence that he can carry?
Derrick Rose.
It's Derrick Rose.
It's Derrick Rose. The guy's so athletically gifted. He can change the game in a matter of seconds.
Right now, we're in 2015. He was MVP in 2011. Those 3 years that he's missed, other guys have picked up the slack. Guys like Wall, guys like Larry, guys like Kyrie Irving have picked up that mantle of best point guard in the NBA, and that's not even mentioning Steph Curry. So do you feel? I don't feel confident that he can match these guys game to game.
Yeah.
every other game in the playoffs, when the intensity comes in, the game slows down. I don't agree.
Hence the reason why I was asking in terms of the depth that the Chicago Bulls have and the impact they can have on the team. Because in terms of depth, Chicago is definitely up there. But I do agree with some of the things you said. So well said. Stay with us after the break. We're talking some more basketball. Don't go anywhere. We're off to pay the bills.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by enconfiance.ca. Find your dream home.
More than any other professional league, the NBA is the one where a single player can make the biggest impact. On this week's Four Downs, we ask, if given a choice, which player would we want on our team going into the 2015 NBA playoffs? Welcome back, Anthony Cornelli, Pierre Evans, just David Hurley. All right, I'm going to throw out a little asterisk on that question. LeBron James is off the table because I think we all agree that LeBron James is probably the best player in the league. Except for LeBron James, who do you go as far as your go-to man if you were the coach?
That's a surprise for you. Shouldn't be a surprise. I got Kawhi Leonard, who for me is not only one of the best players in the league, but he's pound for pound the best defensive player in the league. When I say the best defensive player, is that not only can he play the 2, he can play the 3, he can play the 4, can guard ones, but he disrupts everything you do on defense and can score 20, 25 points per game.
That's one heck of a choice.
And he's definitely my choice because not only was he Finals MVP last year, but when he came back from injury this year, you see what the Spurs have been doing. They won 11 in a row, and they're creeping. They're creeping on the Golden State Warriors, and they're scaring everybody in the Western Conference.
He's absolutely right. But
because they have that experience.
If I'm going to go with anyone, I'm going to go with the team in the East, and I'm going to be repetitive from our last segment, and I'm going to take Kyrie Irving. Anytime you have a guy who can score 57 points against the San Antonio Spurs in a regular season game, I'll take that point guard any day of the week. This guy's been raining threes all season. Not Steph Curry threes. He's going to hit up to close to 300 at this point. But I really do love him, and the reason why is because he's playing with LeBron James. LeBron James is going to be taking so much attention away that he's going to get some open shots, and this guy can nail it.
I'm going to go with someone who's been written off a little bit. He's up there with the Currys and the LeBrons and the MVP chatter. I'm going with James Harden.
Oh, you took that. Oh, that was it.
I mean,
James Harden. I had him.
The Rockets,
he's phenomenal.
The Rockets
He's
have
phenomenal.
been injured all year.
Yeah.
They don't have the roster that the Golden State Warriors do or the Cleveland Cavaliers have. And he's put the team in a position where not only they're fighting for their playoffs, they're fighting for home court advantage. And MVP status is the best player in the league for the team, not the best player on the best team.
And not to count 27.5 points per game. He's attempted 800 free throws this year. He's made 693 of them. He might be the 11th player to hit the 700 mark. James Harden is phenomenal at drawing penalties and drawing fouls. And that's what you need in drawing free throws in the playoffs. There is no other player like him. You ask anybody in the league, and they will tell you he is extremely gifted and creative.
Absolutely, but in the playoffs, they game plan. Other coaches watch tape too. They know exactly what's going to happen.
Against Doc Rivers.
And Dwight, we're not sure if he's 100% healthy. The whole game plan of the whole team goes to James. He holds the ball. He leads the league in possession.
But you can't give him the ball though, because if you give him the ball, he scores. Well, and if you foul him, he's sinking.
I think Doc Rivers is going to have an answer for him, and I think the Clippers might even actually win the first round, even though that James Harden has had a phenomenal season, like you said. He has been an MVP type player, but I don't see it. I think the playoffs, it's going to be a real big matchup. I see Cleveland going all the way in the East, and I see in the West, I like the San Antonio Spurs, and I do like Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors.
When we talk about James Harden, I want to go back to James Harden because I know we broke down his game a little bit, but I'm curious to see when you talk about a game plan, the reason why James Harden is so effective is because whether he's with the ball, dishing, he's creative, he anticipates, he's 3 moves ahead of everybody else, plus on the free throw line, he's incredible. He's literally phenomenal. I said it before. So how do you guard or how do you game plan against a guy like that? Because if it was so easy over a course of 80 some odd games, they would have been able to do it, and they haven't, which he's averaging 27.5 points.
Yeah, but the last 3 years, he's crept up his productivity. He's doing good. He's scoring a ton. He's rebounding more, but he's a liability on defense. And my pick, going back to my pick, Kawhi Leonard, is a stud defensive player and can score just as much in the playoffs. And you see it in the playoffs, the game slows down. And the coaches, the game plan against that particular guy, let him take all the shots. We don't care. At the end of the day, he's not going to make his other teammates better because the team, Beverly's injured out for the year. Matthew is not 100% healthy. And Dwight we're not exactly sure what he's going to do in the playoffs.
Their bench is 2 weeks, so he's going to, as much as he can play 36 minutes, 37 minutes in the playoffs, that's 8 minutes he'll be out. They're going to be very soft. Very, very soft.
Gentlemen, love the energy. It's good to have the RBTL crew back for a show. Thanks for taking the time. But before you go anywhere, we're talking pretender contender. Stay with us. We're talking NHL hockey. Should be a good one. Don't go anywhere.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by Diadora. Available at diadora.com.
Each week, we discuss if a team, athlete, or decision is a contender to make it or a pretender to fail. This week on Reid Between the Lines, we're choosing our pretenders and our contenders for the NHL playoffs. We welcome back Anthony Corneli, Pierre Just, David Hurley. There has never been a time in the last 4 or 5 years where the playoffs are more open-ended and exciting as they can this year. Boston's not in, LA Kings are not in. Who do you have as your pretender and contenders for the 2015 NHL playoffs?
Me personally, I have, as my contender, I have a team that's went through the experience last year. I have the New York Rangers. Because I just feel that the way they're matched up right now and the way they're built as a team and going through the experience that they went through last year, I think this year is their year. And as my pretender, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning because I just don't think they have that experience. It oversets what's going on right now with the Rangers, that they've gone through that grind before. And I think in the playoffs, especially in the NHL, it's important to gone through that particular experience going to the playoffs. And
Pierre,
I don't think
you're
Tampa Bay's
definitely
ready.
onto something when you say the pretender is going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I completely agree with you. And this is the reason why Mike Babcock will be the highest paid coach in the offseason, and he's going to earn his money this winter, or this spring, against Tampa Bay. And this is the series, winning the series against the Tampa Bay Lightning will be huge for him. He'll become the highest paid coach. And my contender, I'm going to have to go with the same color as my tie, the Bleu Blanc Rouge. I like the Montreal Canadiens. Listen, Carey Price's season this year is remarkable. We can't take anything away from him. He's going to win the Hart. He's going to win the Vezina, and I think he's going to win the Conn Smythe as the most valuable player in the playoffs. He's just got everything lined up for him. The stars are lined up for him. I think this is the year.
I usually have to agree or disagree with my man Hurley, but today I'm going with my boy Pierre. I think that the Rangers are my contender. Lundqvist is one of the best goalies in the world. When he's on, the team is on fire. This year they've been healthy. They're on a 7-game winning streak going into the playoffs. They're one of the top scoring teams. I think they're going to shake off the cobwebs of last year's playoff defeat. LA's not there to put a wrench in their bike wheels this time, so I think the Rangers are my contender. As for my pretender, I'm going to have to go with the St. Louis Blues. Every year we look at them, favorites to win the cup, and every year they go into the first round. They got a tough first round. I think Hitchcock's problem is that he's got 2 starting goalkeepers. And in the playoffs, you got to decide your hot hand. Regardless of Allen's doing well in his last 4 games, he's allowed 1 goal, or Elliott, who's dropped since the All-Star break, he has his eggs with Elliott. Now, what does that say? You know, you're putting trust in Elliott after Allen had a stellar year. What if you have to go back with Allen?
I'll tell you what it says. It says contender written all over it, because that says that they're going to the finals of the Western Conference. You want 2 good guys in nets. You want 2 guys that you can count on. This is a year for the St. Louis Blues. It has been a long time coming. They're starting to creep up to San Jose levels of choking, which we know is really high.
It's high.
Okay, but the St. Louis Blues, if they do not pass the first round or a deep cup run this year, there's going to be some major changes in St. Louis. So I definitely see them finally, because of, like you said, some of these teams, i.e. LA, not making it through. I think now that LA is out, Chicago's sort of a 50-50. People know they have it, but they don't know if they're going to do it. St. Louis, I definitely put as my contender. My pretender, however, is unfortunately the New York Islanders. I know they're not, a lot of guys are not, or a lot of people are not expecting them to do well, but I think there's way too much hype of the New York Islanders going into the playoffs. Halak, I've been a big proponent of Halak. I love Halak and what he's able to do, but this is way too much for Halak to carry on his shoulders.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. But I think in the West, I think Chicago is going to be really, really tough to beat. If you look at the top 6 D-men, they're really, really strong. Adding, what's his name from the Flyers? I'm drawing a blank right here, but no. But their forwards, you got Patrick Sharp, you got Marian Hossa, who's done it religiously. You have Captain Canada in Jonathan Taves. My God, I'm having a hard time today, folks. No, but they've really Patrick Kane. Well, he's coming back from injury, so you have the big boys. They have an opportunity of really surprising people. I know that they shouldn't be surprising. They have to go through Nashville, and then they'll go through St. Louis. I actually think they'll play the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's the point exactly, is that St. Louis Blues have no cup experience. And everybody knows you need a couple of guys on your roster that are bringing up the young guys in the locker room. Steve Ott is the only player that the Blues have that's made it past the second round. And Chicago Blackhawks are just full of all kinds of cup experience, so I don't think.
Real quick, we got 15 seconds left. I'll give you first choice on your Stanley Cup predictions.
New York in 6 against, I'll say, you know what? I'll say St. Louis. I think St. Louis has the team to go all the way, but fall to the
Habs in 6 against the Chicago Blackhawks.
Rangers in 6 over the Chicago Blackhawks.
St. Louis in 6 over the Rangers. All right, we're about to find out who wins the little predictions. Thanks for taking the time, guys. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Stay with us. My rant is up next. Don't want to miss it.
Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by lavalcosm.com. It's ball hockey time. Reid Between the Lines is brought to you by tilmar.ca. Innovative designs in the ceramic industry.
After 82 games of indifference, this week finally marks the start of the NBA playoffs, when real basketball is on display. More than any sport, the stakes are raised higher, the intensity no more pronounced than in basketball's second season. Oh, but for all the excitement, read between the lines and you'll see an outdated playoff system overdue for an overhaul. In particular, that ugly elephant in the room, that whole East-West conference structure, created in a time which, by the way, teams were traveling in a crammed, smoke-filled bus. Each conference has 8 teams guaranteed to make playoffs. Are you kidding me? Guaranteed? The only thing that should be guaranteed in sports is the bottom line. Listen, sports should be nothing more than pure Darwinism. Only the very best endure, and if you can't cut it, you'll be waiting tables in Tallahassee. But instead, of course, we have sports socialism, dividing playoff slots equally like, dinner at grandma's house. The result? Sub-500 Eastern Conference teams like the Nets, the Bucks, and the vaunted Boston Celtics get to punch their playoff tickets. Oh, while teams like the Thunder and Pelicans, who'll be a lock in the East, have to kick and claw for consideration. Here's a simple solution put forward by Grantland's basketball savant Zach Lowe and anyone else who has a pulse. Reward the league's best 16 teams. I don't care if they're in the East or the West or the Arctic Circle for that matter. Let's reward the best and only the best from each season. You could even take a page from the D-League and have 4 teams maybe choose their opponents. Make it a televised event for all of us to tune into. Talk about merging reality TV with sports. That would also help stir up the kind of rivalries and bad blood that are solely lacking in the NBA. We're no longer hunting witches or giving lobotomies. I'm pretty sure we could bring the NBA playoffs into the 21st century. With a commissioner with fresh ideas and fresh vision, now is the time. And as always, we ask you to read between.